better than waking up early in the morning and having your cup of coffee, right? But you know what's even better? Waking up in the morning and having your kitchen smell like a French bakery. So we're making croissants, right? Or as the French like to say, le croissant. I think I said it right. It's only a 1.5 day to 3 day process, and most of the time the dough is resting. So I mean, you're in lockdown. You have nothing to complain about. Let's make croissants. So I'm using a mixer for this recipe, but you can use your hands if you want to. So in a mixing bowl, you want to add 500 grams of all-purpose flour. You need a flour that has a high protein content, so your best bet would be plain flour, all-purpose flour, or bread flour. Now to that, you want to measure out 50 grams of sugar, 10 grams of salt, 10 grams of instant yeast, 125 ml of milk and water mixed together, and an egg. Now you want to turn on your mixer on low with the hook attachment on, and you want to let all those ingredients combine until a dough forms. So when a dough starts to form, you want to turn your speed up some more and then knead it for about 5 minutes. Now when 5 minutes is up, put your mixer on low again and start to add 100 grams of your softened butter cut into cubes gradually. So it might start to look like a mess, but don't worry about it. Increase your mixer speed and let your mixer do the work, and then you want to knead it for a further 8 to 10 minutes. You know it's done when your dough can stretch really thin without breaking. Now after that's done, flour your working surface and now pull out your dough from your working surface. And what we want to do is that we want to make kind of like a square rectangular shape. So to do that, we want to take our dough and flatten it with our hands, and then what you want to do is take the one end of your dough, take it and pull it to the other end of the dough, and now you can press on it and you should get like a square shape. After you've done that, cling wrap it and put it in the fridge and leave it overnight. Next, we want to make what is called a bourrage, and essentially all this is just a block of butter. So what you need to do is you need to take 250 grams of butter, and now we want to shape this into a square. So to do that, take your baking paper, and you're going to need a ruler for this, to measure out and draw a square measured 18 centimeters by 20 centimeters. Once you've done that, you want to fold on the edges where you've drawn your square, and then you add your butter to the middle. Close up your baking paper with your butter in the middle, and now using a rolling pin, you want to gently stretch out or roll out your bourrage or butter in order that it touches the edges of the part where you've drawn. So it should form kind of like a square, an 18 by 20 centimeters square. Now make sure that you spread it out evenly across, and after you've done that, leave it in the fridge overnight. And that's the first part of the croissants done. And now this is day 2. You want to take out your dough block of butter. So now we want to laminate the dough, which basically means, the dough is folded several times in succession with a layer of butter in between, and that's how you get the flakiness that we're looking for. Now flour your working surface and try to form a square that's double the size of your block of butter. You want to add your block of butter in the middle diagonally such that the corner faces the edge line of your dough. I didn't do the best job of forming my square because I was probably trying to shortcut it. Now you're going to take each edge of the dough and stretch it and fold it toward the middle where the butter is. Do this with all sides and it should encase the butter and form a square. Now flour your working surface, and with a rolling pin you want to gently press on the dough just to kind of stretch out the butter in the dough. Now you want to do this a few times and then begin your rolling process. So with your dough, you want to roll it into a rectangle shape measured 20 centimeters by 60 centimeters. You can see that I'm using a measuring tape here. You could use your ruler. And you want to make sure that you keep this as rectangular shaped as possible. You can see that I'm using my palette knife here to kind of straighten the edges out. And also don't press on it too hard because you don't want the butter to mix in with the dough. You kind of want to have just a layer of butter and then dough, and you don't want to force the butter into the dough. After rolling your dough 60 by 20 centimeters, grab the top part of your dough and then bring it to the middle and grab the bottom part of the dough and fold it over the top part. kind of make a rectangle shape and gently press on it with your rolling pin, and then cling wrap it and leave it in the fridge for an hour. Now after that hour is up, flour your working surface and then roll your dough out the longer side this time, then gently roll out 60 by 20 centimeters again, and then you take the bottom part, fold it into the middle, take the top part, fold it over the bottom part, and then you want to just straighten it out. At this point you want to decide if you want to leave it overnight or you want to leave it to rest for an hour if you're pressed for time. I chose to leave mine for the next day. Now the next day you want to take out your dough and then you want to roll it out 50 centimeters by 30 centimeters. You want to make markings with your ruler, measure 10 centimeters continuously going throughout the dough. You can make the markings on the dough itself. You want to try to use a knife to cut triangles using the 2 points that you've made markings, and then you make sure those 2 points meet at the top of the dough. When you're done, now you want to shape your croissant. You do this by taking the thinner part of the dough and then slightly elongating it, and then from the widest part you want to roll out your dough up until the end to reach the thinnest point of that dough, and then you're shaping your croissants. Make sure you don't press too much on your dough, and then do this with all your dough. And then what you want to do now is to preheat your oven to 190 degrees or about 200 degrees. Then place your shaped croissants in a baking tray with parchment paper or baking paper. Beat 1 egg, and now using a pastry brush you want to gently egg wash these croissants. This is going to give it that golden color, that like nice look that we see in these croissants. Now cover your croissants with another baking tray or using a damp towel, but I prefer another baking tray just because a damp towel might just stick. Some people choose to like oil, they cling wrap and then like put it over. The most important thing is that you want to leave them to proof, but you don't want them to dry out, so you don't want to expose it to air. Now you want to let your croissants proof for about an hour 30 minutes to about 2 hours, and they should double in size.
You know they're ready to bake when you shake the tray and they've got a little jiggle to them like jelly. Now brush your croissants one more time with egg wash, and then you want to set them in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now after that's done, take out your tray, and now take out your croissants and leave them on a wiring rack to cool. And that's it. You've made croissants.
Now my kitchen is smelling of warm buttery France like Paris. I don't even know how to describe it. All I know is it's a piece de résistance. Gosh, I wish I was French.